was really cool. So I didn't do the hard slog. I didn't go over. I just flew over and snorkeled around and saw some amazing sights and flew back. So that was amazing. Little side note. All right, so we're talking about fishing in WA. Each state manages their fishery separately. So I'll be talking about WA tonight. So first of all, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet, the Wajak people. Our traditional owners were the first sustainable fishers. They fished with the season, so they took cues from nature. So when a certain flower bloomed, it meant a certain fish was good to eat, or when something else happened, it meant the crabs are big and fat and ready to be caught. So we have a lot to learn from them. We are sustainable in our own way, but it all comes very naturally to them. So DPIRD is responsible for the sustainable management of the state's aquatic resources. So fish, basically. But what do I mean by fish? Well, it's anything that lives underwater that doesn't come up to breathe air. That's the easiest way to think about it. So they are a resource, which I think is a bit of a harsh way to describe them because they're living beings and they're wonderful and amazing. But to the government, that's what they are, and that's why we're primary industries and regional development, because it does now fit into that. So yeah, finfish, crustaceans, mollusks, echinoderms, cnidarians, all of them. As you may know, sea cucumber is one of the first tradable fisheries in the world. There's some really cool history there. And then what we don't manage are our aquatic mammals, so there's 5 in Western Australia. Our aquatic reptiles, there's 3 in WA, and aquatic birds, there's thousands, obviously. So who knows who manages those species? Anybody know what government department? Calm, close. It is Calm, but Calm became Department of Biodiversity, Conservation and Attraction. So you'll still see the Calm signs and the sand dunes and things, but like all government organisations, we like to change names. So yeah, DBCA or Parks and Wildlife manage those, but we jointly manage things like marine parks, and obviously the animals we manage, the animals they manage rely on ours for food, vice versa. So we're all in this together, basically. Okay, so fishing rules. Hands up who goes recreational fishing. Awesome, good. You might know everything already, and that's absolutely fine. I am going to talk as if you don't know much, so please don't be offended. I'm not assuming that you don't know anything, but yeah, this is what I've been asked to talk about. So fishing rules in WA. So depending on what you're fishing for and where you're fishing depends on what rules there are in place. So we've got things like licences, gear restrictions, seasons, size limits, bag limits, lots of things in place. So we've got, licences, size limits, bag limits, boat limits. Not everything has a boat limit, only a few things actually do. Possession limits, seasons and protected species, and also gear restrictions. So looking at this table right now, if I was to find you with a turtle and a bird and a white shark in your net, or even you can't catch octopus with these nets, you're in a world of trouble. I'm not compliant, it's all right. I won't dob on you, but just for next time. So the easiest way to access our fishing rules is we have our brochures. I've got a stack of things over on that table over there if you need a fresh one. So it's like the Fisher's Bible, you know, it's all in there. It's a lot. We have over the years tried to minimise it, but I feel like every time we're going to minimise it, we add more pages somehow. It just happens. There's a lot in there. We can also have the RecFish West app, which is fantastic to use. So RecFish West manage that one. It's got a really cool identification function in that, and also a maps function, so you know if you're in a marine park and where you can and can't fish and what you can and can't do. So yeah, these are the easiest ways to access the fishing rules. So first of all, a licence. If you are fishing from the shore or a jetty, you don't need a fishing from boat licence. But if you are fishing from a boat, southwest freshwater, net fishing, rock lobster, abalone or marine fishing, you need a licence. So the fishing from boat one is a bit special because if you have your licence, and you want to take a friend out for a day's fishing, that's fine. They can fish with you under your licence, but you can only keep the bag limit for the amount of licences that there are. So one person with their licence, one person's bag limit. Two people with their licence, two people's bag limits. But that's the only one that counts for. So if you're going out getting rock lobsters, your mate can come, but they can't be involved. If they want to be involved in the rock lobster fishing, they need to get their own licence. Yeah, that's how that works. The licences are a way, they're a management tool. So it helps us know how many people are utilising that fishery, and then it helps us set our bag limits and seasons and things. Not as much the recreational fishing from boat one, because you could be fishing for any type of species in any location, but the other ones, especially the abalone. So abalone, gotta go faster. I could talk all day and night about fishing and fish, but abalone licence is a really good way, a good example of how we can manage our fisheries. So with our licence, it tells us how many people are fishing. Abalone in the Perth metro area, who knows how many hours it's open for a season or a year? Same thing.
It's 1 hour, 4 days, 5 days a year or something.
Yeah, well done. So 4 hours, but they're split into 1 hour blocks, and we tell you when that hour block is. So because of that, our scientists at Hillary's, they can do their maths in their, I don't know, they're so smart in their systems, and they can figure out how many licences are being taken out and how many then abalone are being taken out. And we've got some total allowable catch, we've got all these rates, and if it looks like we're going over, they can cut the abalone season short a day. And if it looks like we've got plenty, then the next season we can reassess and possibly add another day into the future. We also, abalone, they are really vulnerable. Oh, they're a really cool animal, but they are not built for survival. They don't have a clotting agent in their blood, so when you nick them, so to get an abalone off the reef, they're stuck really hard. You get a blunt object and pry it off. If you nick the skin, they don't have a clotting agent, they'll bleed out, so they'll die. They also can't swim away because they're not a fish, so when the ocean gets too hot, we've been having a massive marine heat wave earlier this year, they just fall off the rock and die. So, love them, but come on, evolution didn't treat them kindly. So, we need to really look after them. So on abalone mornings, if anyone goes abalone fishing, you will notice that compliance are out in force. Education, we're out in force. We've got research. We've got volunteers doing head counts of the popular reef. So we invest a lot into this fishery because it is so important and it is so vulnerable. Yeah, so that's a bit about the management of that. If you do want a licence, back to the licences, you can go online and do it. It's all through DOT these days, or you can come into one of our offices and buy one. So we've got a fisheries office in Freo here, or I'm based at Hillary's, so you can come to Hillary's as well. Okay, our size limits. Does every fish have a size limit? Yes. No, not every fish. Does every fish have a size bag limit?
No.
Yes.
Yes.
So not every fish has a size limit, but every fish does have a bag limit. So even those pesky blowies, your weepy toadfish, even though they're super annoying, they do play an important role in the ecosystem. They're like little vacuum cleaners, they're scavengers, they clean up the ocean. So everything does have a bag limit, but not a size limit. So our size limits are set at a size so that we allow the fish to reach maturity, reproduce, and then we catch and keep them. So for black bream, their size limit is 25, so by the time they're 25 centimetres long, they should have reproduced a few times, replaced themselves in the fish stock, so then we catch and keep them while their offspring are growing up. Now, not all fish have size limits. There's a multitude of reasons for this. So some fish, like our herring, the size that you catch them at is generally pretty good for eating. Those smaller fish, they have short lifespans, they don't grow very big, and they reproduce well. So your smaller species don't. Your larger fish, they generally do have size limits because they are slower growing and longer living. But, there's always a but. You might be aware of the demersal rule changes that came in a couple of years ago. And through that, some of the size limits were removed. That is because some of our biggest species, so our demersals, that means bottom-dwelling fish, so they live quite deep down, they go through something called barotrauma. So when you yank them to the surface really fast, they can't deal with the pressure change. So their eyes bulge, their stomach comes out of their mouth, their swim bladder bursts. So the thing is that you might, so say the size limit was 50 centimetres, and you catch a dewey that's 40. So it's still big enough to eat, get some good fillets, you know, cook the whole frame, of course, use the whole fish. So back before the rule changes, you would have had to throw that back. The likelihood of that fish surviving is very, very low. Throw it back because you have to, it's the rules. Catch another one, 45, still not big enough, throw it back, get another one. Finally, you've got one over 50. Awesome, so now you've got a fish to take home. But in that process, you've taken 3 fish out of the fish stock. Whereas by removing the size limit, it means that that first 40 centimetre dewey that you caught, which is still big enough to eat, still feed your family, then you take that one home and leave the rest to grow and reproduce. So at the end of the day, we're taking less fish out of the fish stock. So your boardies, your black hearts, your deweys don't release well. They might swim off, but it doesn't mean that they're going to survive because they are damaged and injured. Just like us, we can't, if we're scuba diving, shoot to the surface from 20 metres. We will die. So yeah, that's a bit behind the size limits. Does anybody have any questions about that? Because I know it's been quite a controversial topic. No?
Well, it's not.
Thank you.
Makes sense.
Good. Oh, and there are a few species that have maximum size limits as well, so do be aware of that. There's only a few. Pardon? Oh, you can ask.
He's confused by maximum size.
Oh, sorry about that, mate. So a maximum size limit means that your fish can't be bigger than its maximum. So for barramundi, their maximum size limit is 80. So if you catch a barra, they live up north in the warm water, and it's 82 centimetres, what have you got to do? Throw it back, yeah, because it's too big. So barramundi is super special because they are all born males. Then they grow, reproduce, change to females, and remain a female for the rest of their life. So we throw the big ones back because all the big ones, they're the mamas, they're the females with all the eggs. So the bigger they are, the more eggs they produce, so more fecund in scientific terms. So they're really important, so that's why we throw the big barras back. They also are really good fighting fish, and they're really they're tough, so they survive being caught and put back. They also live in shallow water, so that helps. Then we have our bag limits. So depending on what area of the water you're fishing in, that depends on what your bag limits are. So we have, first of all, the mixed. It doesn't work on the screen. These new fancy screens that it just doesn't work on them. Yeah. Anyway, so we have our mixed species bag limit. So for nearshore estuarine, that is 16 per angler, so per person fishing. So your nearshore estuarine, you can fish from the beach for these species, generally. You can also fish from the beach for demersals, but anyway, we're talking about these ones at the moment. So you can have 16 per person. And then fish also have an individual bag limit. So we have to take that into consideration. So say you're lucky enough to get 12 King George whiting, which would be a bloody good day fishing if you did. So you can have 12 of those, and then you can have 2 mulloway, and then you can have, so that's 14, so then you've only got 2 fish left. So then you could have 2 of your silver brim, for example. So it doesn't mean that you get 12, 2, 8, 6, 8, 8, 8, and 4. You have to understand then their individual bag limit and then work up to the mixed species bag limit. So the bag limits are really generous. You can have, I think if you were to fish your nearshore estuarine, your pelagics, your other fin fish and your demersal, it's like 50 fish or something. So you'd have to be committed to a full day's fishing, but it's also too many fish, you know. We like to say fish for the future, so take what you need for a feed and just leave the rest for next time. Okay, so we also have possession limits. So possession limit is the amount of fish you're allowed to keep in your possession at home. So you don't need a fishing license to have a possession limit. So it's 20 kilos per person. So 10 kilos of any fish, and the next 10 kilos has to be made up of your pelagic species. This is more important if you are going away up north to fish and then bring your fillets back. You can also bring whole fish or trunked fish back, but they obviously take up a little room in your esky.
So was that per person?
Yeah.
So just, how does that work when you're actually living on a sailing boat up north?
Living on a sailing boat up north, I should have asked the compliance officers for this.
Yeah.
It's the same. If that's your...
So the rules aren't really written for, they're written for people going out in a tinny and coming home.
Yeah, so you would have to, have proof that you're obviously sailing overnight, so it's your 2 days bag limit.
But can I crew on your boat if you've got that much?
But yeah, but if you're away for a few weeks, you can
Yeah.
start building up your possession limit.
Yes. Yeah.
So you just, would it be up to the officer's discretion?
Well, so they are well versed in things like sounders and plotters, and these days you guys, everyone has all the technology, so they would be able to track where you've been.
Okay.
They come and have a look on the boat on your sounder just for proof that where you've been is what you say you've been. Yeah, but if you are catching and keeping a lot of fish on your boat, you need to make sure you label it so they know who it belongs to. Because if you've got 40 kilos and you know it's not labelled, that could belong all to the skipper. So you've got to make sure you label it.
Does the skin have to be left on if you're at sea?
Yes. Yeah. For your first... Oh, now you ask me all the tricky questions. It's only the start of event season. I'm not used to all those tricky ones yet. I've had a quiet winter in my office. So, transporting fish. You have to be with your fish when you transport them. That's another good thing. So you can't send your mate back on the road and say, oh no, I've got his 20 kilos of fish on my boat with me. You can't do that. Yes, so skin has to be on. Labels are needed if you are within your daily bag limit and still on your fishing trip. The fish are in possession and under the direct physical control of the person who took the fish and are not stored with anyone else's fish. So, it's all page 47, 48. So there's specifications on the labels as well. So they have to be 7.5 centimetres and 2.5 centimetres, securely attached, and then unless proven otherwise, you are assumed to be in possession and control of the fish that are in your vessel. So that's what I mentioned before. And don't worry, I'm getting to your question. Yes, so 10 kilos of fillets of any species. So no skin required once landed. So you need it at sea, skin on. Plus 10 kilo fillets of large pelagic finfish, which is what I said before, must have skin attached for identification purposes. Yeah. So skin on. Yeah.
So just a supplementary question there.
Yeah.
I've seen some of the specialists who catch all the fish, they leave a piece of skin on the fish close to the tail, but not the entire skin.
Yeah.
They seem to think that's acceptable. I don't know what it says, but...
That's a good question. It doesn't say it in here, and I haven't had that question before, so I'll
Okay.
have to check with compliance and get back to you, and then can you tell everyone? Is that okay? Sorry, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's a very specific question. I mean, I can understand why. I suppose there'd have to be enough skin to identify the fish, when maybe a little square in some species isn't enough. But I will get back to you. Yes, did you have another question?
Yes, I thought I had seen something recently about either you had to choose if you're going to do fillets or if you're going to do whole fish.
Kind of. So, you can have 10 kilos of fillets and 1 day's bag limit of whole fish and fish trunks, or 2 days bag limit of whole fish and whole trunks. Does that make sense? Yeah. So, you have your 20 kilos of fillets, or 10 kilos of fillets, 1 day's bag limit, or 2 days bag limit of whole and trunk. Because some of these bigger fish, you know, like people keep them whole because if you were to fillet them, you'd already be over your 20 kilos. So yeah, so you can have 10 kilos of fillets and then 1 day's bag limit. You have to have a pretty big freezer depending on what you're catching. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Cool.
So you can have a mixture.
You can have a mixture, yeah. As long as your whole fish don't exceed one day's bag limit and the fillets don't exceed 10 kilos. Yeah. These are my trickiest questions. Just catch and eat, that's, you know, make everything easier. Okay. So, that's the next talk, mate. I know all about them, but not really how to catch them. Okay, so we do need to remember gear, so especially when you are crabbing. So we have our drop net and our scoop net. You can also use a blunt hook, but we don't have any traps in WA. So I don't know if you guys are friends with sailors in the NT in Queensland, but if you are, make sure that you tell them that you can't be using traps in WA. So I always like to have a bit of a joke with the Queenslanders and the guys from NT, because we can catch a feed of crabs and drop nets easy, and they think they need these traps to trap them in there, but nah. If you're a good fisher, you can definitely get them in a drop net. So it's kind of cheating in a trap, you know. You've got to give them a chance.
Is it illegal to have them on?
But we have
at
pipe
all?
traps.
Yeah, you can't have them on your boat.
You can't even
You got
have a
to
trap. You've got to get rid of them. If you
Yeah.
come from NT.
Yeah, sailboat around Australia. It's a tricky one. If your boat, if you are in WA, then you can't have traps on your boat. But if you're sailing through WA, I don't know if they just have to be stored really well. I know that when you're on the land, if they're stored like in the bottom of your car, strapped up tight, so it's clear that you're not using them, that's okay. But on a sailboat, maybe if they were like deep down in the gully or somewhere, yeah. Is that the right word? I kept looking, I was on my uncle's boat, I kept looking.
All that leaves on the deck is the message.
Yeah. No, Mimosa, Tony Brewer. Yeah.
They're on the web, eh?
Yes, they are. Yeah, they're seeing all these photos of the Kimberley. And I lived in Brew for a while, so I'm like, oh, I miss it. Anyway. Alright, no traps. So then we also have seasons. So seasons have become a lot more topical now that we have our demersal seasons opening and closing throughout the year. So we do produce this as well. It's over on the table. But yeah, just be aware that a lot of species do have seasons. And then we have our bioregion. So depending on where you're fishing, the bag limits may, and some size limits may vary. So make sure that, yeah, you look through the Rec Fishing Guide, or when you're on the Recfish West app, when you open it up, you tell it where you are so that it tells you the rules for that bioregion.
How far offshore does do the rules, when do they stop applying?
International waters.
Okay, so
Yeah. Pretty far, yeah. I mean, you guys can probably get there on your boats,
Yeah.
but a bit far for me. Okay, sorry, I realise it's almost 8, so I will try to talk a bit faster and not go on my little tails. But I'm sure you guys are aware that the Coburn Sound crab fishery did reopen end of last year, so people are pretty excited about that. You can get your feed of crabs, same rules as what's in the Swan River, so 5 crabs per person. And then, so crabs do have a boat limit. So your crabs, your lobsters, your octopus, your demersals, they do have boat limits, so be aware of that. Already spoke about abalone. We'll find out hopefully in the next couple of months the dates for this season. The minister likes to announce it, so it's sometimes a bit delayed till they're free. But we get the rose abalone in Perthia, and then the green lip and brown lip are further down south, but there are some closures down there as well, so do your research before you go. Anyone for me, or no? Wait till I get home. And then catch care, of course, because there's no point going out and catching all these delicious fish if you don't then look after it. So whether you're releasing it back into the ocean, you want to give it the best chance of survival, or if you are keeping it for a feed, you want to know how to look after it. So catching a tuna, you know, you have to bleed them out, you have to cool them down, because they're actually warm-blooded. So tuna are warm-blooded, all other fish, so tuna and white sharks are warm-blooded. other fish are cold. So you need to really cool your tuna down to get the most out of your fish. Yeah, so we got to look after your gear. So making sure that you're using the right gear, the right weighted line, the right hooks. Yeah, it's important. Handling the fish, don't just grab it with dry hands, wet cloth, let it go gently, don't just chuck it in. If you are releasing a demersal that does have a size limit, so some demersals do still have size limits, so your pink snapper does. So make sure you're using a release weight to slowly release it. Pinkies have a really good chance of survival after being caught, so yeah, make sure you use your release weight with those. Make sure you've got ice or an ice slurry to put your fish in so they stay nice and fresh. And of course, look after the environment, so you don't have to say it, but you know, don't litter, basically. And if you see other rubbish, just pick it up as you go. Switch your fish. So this was a bit of a campaign when the demersal rule changes came in, was just reminding everyone there's other fish out there. It's not just your demersal bottom dwelling species. Some of our nearshore species, when prepared right, well, a lot of them, they're delicious. Your pelagics are really good. So we need to diversify and try different fishing techniques and different eating of different fish and cooking them in different ways, because there is such a diversity out there. So encouraging people to do that. And fish for the future. Thanks for having me. Any questions? If we have time, we probably don't, but no. Any questions? Yes.
Just interested in the research you do in fisheries, because it must be pretty interesting. And they're releasing those barometric pressure ones, you know, and you've obviously found, and you can see some of them are damaged like you described. But then working out if those marvellous weights they put on them and sent them down, how they fare. And I know, like with the fish release, some of them were released in the harbour here, and they've got a dye marker, haven't they, on those fish to see if those fish are caught in the population. So can you tell us a bit about research that you do on fisheries?
Yeah, sure. So I'm not involved in the research as much. I'm education, of course, but I get to chat to the researchers and hear about the incredible work that they're doing. So the kingfish and pink snapper that are released are bred in the aquaculture facility just down the way. And yeah, so when they are bred, they do put a dye into the water which stains the otolith. So an otolith is a fish's ear bone. So they have 3 sets of otoliths. And when you dissect fish, which is what we do with students in the lab at Hillary's, you can remove 2 of those otoliths. You cut a cross section out of the otolith and count the rings, just like you count the rings on a tree, tells you how old the fish is. So if you are to cut open a fish, so the otoliths are in their top vertebrae, you can crack it open and get them out with some tweezers. You might have, the mulloway, people call them jewels because they have really big otoliths. The size of the fish doesn't equal the size of the otoliths, so different species have different sized and shaped otoliths. But yeah, so we do stain some of them, so if you were to get one out and it was pink, then it could be one of the ones that was released here. And if that happens, contact us, because we always love to hear that. That's one of the trickiest parts, is the end of the research, you know, like once you release them, obviously the scientists have ways of figuring these things out, but yeah.
Are we still supposed to donate the frames?
Yes, please. Sorry, I should have had a slide in there about that. Yes, so please donate frames. We're not looking for demersal frames at the moment. We're looking for, our more nearshore species, but there is a brochure over there. So it's a program called Send Us, well, it was called Send Us Your Skeletons, but now they made it Donated Frames, which is way boring. We have fun things. So they give us the skeletons. Through that, all we need is the guts and the skeleton intact. You can take the wings, the cheeks, the fillets, everything. Through that frame, they can figure out the size of the fish, the age of the fish, whether it was reproduced at that time of year, whether it was old enough and big enough to reproduce. All this biological information, they can take DNA samples just from the skeleton. So just by dropping it off at one of our offices, you can help out with the research. So yeah, please grab a brochure if you. Any more questions? Oh, the other cool thing that they're doing research at the moment is that they're taking samples from blue swimmer crabs, and they're, through the shell, they can tell where that crab was. So crabs in the Swan River have a higher manganese level than the ones in Coburn, but they are seeing some overlap. So it was just recently in the media. So if you Google that, you can learn more.
Are the blue swimmers okay to eat?
To eat?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, as long as they're sized and not buried. The ones in the Swan River, they do sometimes have the Alexandrium in it, so we just say that you wash them really well. Alexandrium,
What's that?
it's like an algae.
On the outside.
No, so it gets into their gills and things, so that's why we say wash the crabs before you cook them, and don't cook them with the gills in if you can. You can avoid it. Yeah. Yeah, it's mainly in summer when the water's really stagnant, so, or if there's lots of runoff that's high in nutrients.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Jessamine.
You're so welcome.
Fantastic.
Sorry, I think I went over.
On behalf of the cruising committee, we'd like you to accept this little token
Thank
of our
you.
appreciation. Thank
Oh,
you very
thank you
much.
so much. Oh, Materna, my kids will love that.
Now, did everybody get a raffle ticket?
Yes.
Did anybody not get a raffle ticket?
No, I didn't give it.
We didn't get one.
Yeah.
Jessamine, did you get one?
I did, yeah, thank you.
As a winning ticket, just so we know. Jessamine, would you like to pick? Oh, a ticket you can pick your own one.
It would be my honour.
And this is for this wonderful fish butchery book.
Oh, it's not mine. Oh, but it's my favourite number. 2.
Number 2.
Must have someone here early. Yes!
Congratulations. Thank you.
I'm so happy. I really wanted it too. I saw it on the weekend. That's so cool.
So our next speaker is Ian Grassick, also known as my hubby. Ian is a sailor who enjoys fishing. His earliest fishing memories was that of a 5-year-old. Ian fished for mackerel from a rowboat in the Outer Hebrides, using a seagull's feather tied to a hook. Please join me in welcoming Ian.
Just go plug in the electronics now. Yeah, it's a true story. My uncles were passed away now, but they were lobster fishermen up there. And what they did was they used mackerel, which they then put into a barrel and salted as the bait to catch the lobsters. And they did very well. They ended up selling all their catch to Harrods. So they did it all, but not bad for crofters up there in the Outer Hebrides.
And we have a microphone.
How's that? Is it coming through okay?
Yeah.
All right. So thanks, Danny, for that introduction. It's my pleasure to be here this evening, of course, to talk about fishing off the back of our boat. And please be aware, though, there's a little disclaimer here, I'm not a fishing expert. I'll be sharing what worked for us on our boat whilst we were lucky enough to sail across a couple of oceans on our cast run. The table in front of me has some of the gear that we've used, and you're quite welcome afterwards to come up and have a look at the stuff and discuss anything you might want to talk about as far as how it worked or didn't work. Let's press the next button and see what happens. So there's a picture of our boat, beautifully airbrushed, and that's where we fished off the back from. And the topics we're going to cover, put a few together that would give us some sort of format. We'll look at rod holders, rods, of course, the reels and line choice that we chose. Safety afloat, no point catching the fish if you're in there swimming with them. It can be a big problem. And some of the lures that we've used and the types of fish that we caught with these lures. And a little bit on scaling and filleting, because once you've caught your fish, you need to look after it properly, as Jessamine mentioned, and then we have to prepare it to eat. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So the rod holder we ended up using was the one that you see up there on the screen. I brought it along with me, solid looking thing. And we picked our boat up in France, so we were a bit limited in what we can actually get. But this looked solid enough, and we thought, you beauty, we'll use that. And it has a connector that goes onto the rail, and you screw it in so it's nice and tight. And I said, why do you have this system? And he said, well, in case you go into a port where people might pinch it, then you can unscrew it and hide it. So, no, okay. So we thought, this is marvellous. We screwed it in, and the first big fish we caught, it went, "Rrrr." We almost lost the rod. No matter how tight we screwed it in, it went like that. So we ended up using 4mm Dyneema. And if you look closely at the top, you see what we tried before. We used electricians' clips, you know, the plastic you tighten up. Well, that didn't work either. We got bigger and bigger. So eventually we got some Dyneema, and if you look carefully in that photograph, you'll see a couple of rolls of Dyneema around it. But that worked. That was very effective. So when the fish tugged, it wouldn't go over the side. So whatever type you get, just keep an eye on the ability for the fish to take it off your boat. So rods. Well, we've got a couple here tonight. A couple of demo ones here that we'll use shortly. There's another one sitting there. But generally, rods on boats, there's not much to them. They're pretty short because you don't have to cast. You just have to put the lure out the back. And mainly we'll be talking about trawling, so that's dragging a lure behind you. Most of the sailing we did was long distance sailing, and so we've always thrown a line out the back to catch our dinner. That's basically our style of fishing. And we found that some of these fish got quite big, and a 24-kilogram rod could handle anything that nature threw at us, or it would snap the line. So we reckon anything around the 24-kilo mark would be quite nice and keep us going for a while. Yeah, more than a day's bag limit, but it sounds of it. Another obvious thing, although you might not think of it, especially if you buy your rod and your reel separately, will the reel fit the rod, and vice versa? So sometimes the bits on the rod that secure the reel might not fit your reel. Your reel might be too beefy for the rod, might not fit. So just have a check to see that it actually fits. Now what I'd like to do is talk about the types of reels that we use. And that's a picture of the one we're currently using. We've used a lot more before that. We found that 35 to 45 kilogram line worked well. Went for braid because braid doesn't stretch. But if you do that, you've got to have a leader that's on the end that is stretchy. Much easier to bring the fish onto the boat. Braid's extremely skinny and would easily cut into your hand, but if you've got a nice big thick mono leader, it's not too bad. Always wear gloves, so it's going to protect your hands too. But we ended up using powered reels. Why did we end up using power reels? Well, see the size of that thing? Right, that took 4 of us to get that in. Now the story is, there was 4 of us working on the boat at the time. 3 of us on watch, and Tanya was on day work. And Tanya was around, and she was the fisher person of the day, and she caught this big fish. So she said, I'm not going to say anything, I'm just going to wind it in. So anyway, Tanya got one out. Person on watch, another lady, she came down to help. She got one out. So they said, oh, we better wake the boys up. So there was 2 of us. So I got the first crack at it. And I wound it half the way in, and I was exhausted. And then finally, Don, the big boy you see there, he's over 6 feet tall, well-muscled, he managed to squeeze it in at the end. So he managed to get this lovely black marlin onto the boat, and you can see he's 6 feet tall, and that marlin's above his head, and its beak there is dragging on the deck of the boat. So you can imagine we didn't have any way to weigh it, but obviously a big fish. So after that, we decided it was probably a good idea with our old bones to get something to help us to wrestle in these big ones. So I'm going to ask Robin if she'd come and help me with a demonstration here, where we compare an electric rod, an electric reel, with a normal one.
Which one do you have me on? Yeah.
Well, I was going to give you the one that's going to win the race, I hope, but I thought maybe you're not too sure how to operate it. So can I give you a quick introduction?
Yes.
Right, it's about here.
Yeah.
So we'll just go out in front of everyone so you can see it. Now we've got some real fish here on the end of this, so this will be interesting. I think this one's got a, yeah, fairly vicious looking orca on
Well,
it.
that's not a fish.
You're right, it's not a fish. So,
It is to me, I had to
and the more you wind it, the faster it will go, and then you'll melt it. Alright, so on a comp. That's yours, and I'm going to come beside you at the two of us, so have a competition. I've got a shark, that's a bush, a big more vicious fish.
I'm thinking it's rigged. I'm going to do this.
It is rigged.
I'm right, everybody.
Just on an aside, I bought this rod here for Tanya for Valentine's Day. Most people would have a red rose, but I thought I'll get her a red rod and reel for Valentine's Day. This is where we actually get to our destination. That's a bit easy to use those big ones. Ready?
Yeah.
You got the right. Steady. Go. Who's going to win? A little bit faster, Now, what it does, of course, it stops a metre before it gets to the end of the rod, so it doesn't go whizzing through the bits at the top. So, yeah, that's
How
quick.
well done is that? That for Valentine's Day, honey. This one's. This is good.
I don't think there's a bag limit for.
Somebody might want one of these as a door prize.
That's pretty cool.
So yeah, we ended up doing that. And Tanya, of course, that's quite a hefty thing. So I got her one. So you can have a look at it when you come out with it on. But that's a smaller version of the same thing. It's just not quite so heavy. You know, does the same job. And the line thickness is probably a little bit thinner, but it's very handy. That's about $700.
What's been your return on investment?
Oh, it's been very good. Yeah. The other thing that you might not be aware of is it can reel the fish in really quickly. We went about 5 years ago. We were fortunate enough to go up to the Monte Bellos and do a 1 week fishing trip up there, liveaboard. There's about a dozen of us on that. And we'd be out there, we'd be fishing, beautiful, beautiful fish out there. And then the tiger sharks would find us. So once they found us, it was happy days for them. And 12 people pulling hard on their lines, you'd be lucky for 2 people to pull in a whole fish. They just sit there and snap their way. We're fishing in about 35 to 40 metres of water. And if we had one of these reels, I think we would have been one of the 1 or 2 that made it. But yeah, it was a lottery game to pulling them in. So sometimes a reel like that can have its benefits. But really, the best reel to have is the one that you have on the boat. Just look after it and have a spare, because they do break. So once we've got the reel, we've got the rod, we've got to attach the braid to the leader. Now, if you go and look at most fishing people, they've got all these very, very sophisticated knots and how they attach them. We've gone for a simpler approach. So we tie the braid onto something like this. So we have a hook, snap hook with a swivel, and a soft bead. And the reason we have a soft bead is if you did pull the line in too hard, you're not going to knock off the top of your rod. That very first part of the ferrule there is not going to get broken by a swivel or something else. So that plastic bead helps. And then you just clip your leader on the other end. And it's easy to change from one type of lure to another. And it's worked well for us. And we use a simple knot to tie it, just a uni knot. That works really well for us. Once you learn how to use a uni knot, you can use it in pretty much anything. Very, very useful. Lures. So we've attached, we've got the rod, we've got the reel, we've got the braid, we've got the leader. Now we've got to stick something on the end to attract the fish. If you're going off and fishing locally, we've found the good old twisty to be fantastically effective for catching tuna. Has anybody here used them with any success? Yeah, great, aren't they? Fantastic. That's the little white one there. You've got red ones, again, come out and have a look at some of the stuff we have over here. You can see some of the things we've used. You can see the teeth marks in some of them, so some of them worked and some of them didn't. We've got these skirted lures. Now, we found they were very good for mahi-mahi, dolphin fish. That particular set of, go back, have another look. They've got a sort of flat head on them, and they splash beautifully. So you can do a nice big, like a popper, and they splash up. The other type are similar, we've got them here too, and they have more of a bullet head. And these bullet head ones just dive down that little bit deeper and pull the fish that are a little bit lower down in the water column. And they're very effective also. So we call them skirted lures for, obviously, the big skirt on them. Now, the biggest fish we've ever caught, including that black marlin, were caught on things like that. So we call them hard-bodied, bibbed lures. Hard-bodied because they're not soft like the skirted ones, and they have a bib out at the front of them. And it's like a big beak, and the bigger and deeper and more angled that bib, the more they're going to dive underwater. So that particular one you see there is about a 6 metre one, and so it'll dive down about 6 metres behind your boat. And fish that are frolicking around in that area are the ones that are more likely to go for them. And as I say, the biggest ones we've had, and any break-offs we've had, generally break off with these things, so you can get some monsters on the end of them. So now that we've caught the fish, how do we get it on board? So we found that a net's really good, the long-handled net. But it's a lot easier if your long-handled net, certainly from a storage point of view, well, I'm tapping the microphone, if you can actually open it up. So these ones here, you can fish off the back of your boat, and you can be doing this to try and catch them. The problem is, where do you put one of these after you've used it? So if you can have it so that you can push it back together again, you can stick it up somewhere on your boat. It just makes life a lot easier. And then the side, this gives you an idea. You should get pretty big fish in there. Even if you just put them in head first, the tail dangles out the top. You can be, and there's lots of different types that will work for it. But if that is too small for your fish, if you're lucky enough to get a really big one, what do you think we use? A hook. A hook, a very big hook, yes. A large gaff, right? You're getting them with a gaff. So a long-handled gaff is what we use. Now, you can see the first one there. That's a piece of bamboo, just a piece of metal, somewhat sharpened up. They've tied it off, and that works really well. Nothing wrong with that. That's the cheaper alternative. You can also get them, I found, made out of carbon fibre. They weigh nothing and cost the earth. So we've ended up with one made out of aluminium. And this cost us about $60, $70. They're very sharp ends on them, so usually you have a piece of plastic on there, a bit of plastic tubing, and you can feel the end on that, it's razor sharp. So you just go in behind the gills of the fish. Champagne cork's good, yep. Good use for champagne cork. And just pull the thing in with that. So you see it's nice and long. Some of them are, you can actually extend them, or you can adjust them. This one here has a thing on the back, so you could actually attach another pole on the back of this if this wasn't long enough. But yeah, it's about, imagine a fish on the end of that, it's about as long as you want, really. So again, you can have a look at the stuff when you come out. So that's a long-handled gaff. Right, coastal fishing. So we've talked about our journey, towing stuff behind the boat, catching fish behind the boat. But of course, you end up getting to your destination. I've shown this particular tropical island theme because we did a trip from Europe across to St. Lucia on our boat, and we got to the Caribbean. Beautiful, lovely, lovely spot. And once we got there, we thought, well, we've been enjoying our trawling, what else can we do? So we did a bit of bottom bouncing there. However, there's a few problems with fishing in tropical waters, not just over there, but here in the Northern Territory in Queensland. We found that ciguatera is a particular issue, and that's a poison. And again, we heard about fish that eat algae, and sometimes you've got crabs and you don't want to eat that algae, you want to get rid of it. So the ciguatera toxins live within the algae. The small fish eat the algae off the reef, the bigger fish eat the small fish, and so it goes up the chain. And by the time the largest fish has had his fill of little fish, he's full of ciguatera. Now if you get that big fish and you eat the big fish, there's a very good chance that you'll end up with ciguatera poisoning. Has anybody here had ciguatera? No, that's good news. I haven't either.
After a couple of bottles of red wine?
I would think the symptoms are almost identical, Robin. Vomiting, diarrhea, what else can we talk about? Numbness in the extremities. Yes. So the sad thing is it builds up. The more you have it, the worse you get. Very rarely would somebody ever die from it, but yeah, they're very uncomfortable things. It's just something to be aware of if you're in tropical climes. Now, I looked up the web, and the Northern Territory has a very good article on the web. I've just put that down the bottom there, and you can look it up and I'll give you a scientific explanation in layman's terms. Also Queensland, they have problems there too with their tropical fish with ciguatera poisoning. You don't hear much about it in this country, but certainly over at St Lucia we were warned about eating reef fish. Okay, so if we are fishing at our destination, it might not be in the tropical climates, it might just be a bit further away from where we normally are. We might be, in New South Wales perhaps. So we found Bonham fishing off the back of the boat. We stopped in Shark Bay, coming down from Exmouth. Tanya throws a line off the back, she catches a couple of fish straight away, not really scientific. Bottom bounce, off we go, fish on the boat, and it's dinner sorted. Well done, Tanya. So you can do things like squid and whiting rigs. You often find that squid and whiting share the same bottom structure, and if you put a line down that's got a squid jig on it and it's got a hook on it for whiting, there's a good chance you'll pick one or other or both up on that rig. So it's certainly worth prospecting like that, see what's around the bottom, and you can go out with your tender and do it. There's all sorts of like go to Rotterdam and see these people as the sun's setting, nice romantic evening, a bottle of wine on the tender and a rod out catching herring. Where are we? Lovely. Yes. It's all that wine, I think. Right, so being aware of any fishing regulations, of course, in force. So we heard from Jessamy earlier, and currently we've got a demersal ban in progress. So if you went to a different state, you probably wouldn't know that. So if you do go to a different state and you fish, spend some time finding out what the regulations are for that state, because the old compliance boys might pop on, give you a visit. Certainly worthwhile doing. So, last two things that we're going to talk about, scaling and filleting. How many people have scaled a fish here in this room? How many people have really enjoyed scaling fish? Oh, a couple. Well, there you go, 3. Oh, that's more than I thought. So,
I don't enjoy the scales being on the boat.
and then you've got to get rid of the scales on the boat, exactly. So what we do is we use a net, and I've used a few onion bag type nets over the years, but I was out on Success on a trip there, and one of the guys had this type of net, which is fantastic, and I brought one along tonight at the end of the table. And the advantage of that net is you just tow it behind the boat, like this. So you put your fish in the top, so you can see hold a few fish. And that close it up, put your washing out here, old pair of jeans. Yeah. So the fish live in here, this gets thrown out the back of the boat, and it just sits there on the wake of the boat, and it moves around and spins around, and it takes the scales off your fish. Seriously. Just with the movement is rubbing against this material. So this is like sitting there with a scrubbing brush, just scrubbing the scales. So the water's doing it for you. So yeah, it's got a little swivel on it and a float, and very effective. About 15 to 40 minutes, depending on how fast you're going, the type of fish you've got. you know. So certainly after half an hour, if you do it too long, the poor old fish gets totally battered. You just got to judge it. Better to give it a little bit, check it, a bit more, check it.
And how much are they in?
$60.
60 plus the 700 plus the...
Oh, no.
You can use it on
You
your.
better to forget the dollar.
What commission are they paying?
Does it work at a minimum speed, or do you need like?
I think you know about 4 knots or something.
4 knots
You
will work
yeah,
out?
too slow. It's like put the spin dryer on, but it spins really slowly. But yeah, so you need about I think about 4 knots.
So they're not too far behind the boat.
But,
Reasonably close behind the boat there.
yes, reasonably close. So it gets tossed by the weight. You don't have to have it miles away like you would be using it for fishing. And it's got a little float there, just to make sure you screw the top down tight so that you don't escape. And make sure you know how to tie a knot so it doesn't come adrift. So that's the scaling. That works really well. That's our scaling back. Most fish shops will have something like that. And the last part of the presentation is filleting. Now you can't have whole fish, of course. Whole fish are delicious. You just gut them and you put them on the barbecue. But filleting is a bit of an art. Now I was very fortunate because I'm a member of the fishing section too, and they organised a programme where we could go along. It was an afternoon thing for a couple of hours. We paid our $50, and we had Conway from Fish Filleting WA who came and gave us a workshop on how to fillet fish. And so he brought along a whole lot of fish, different types, and he showed us, must have been a dozen of us I suppose, how to fillet a fish. And he's a commercial fisherman and filleter, still working in that role. And so he was doing it quite professionally, but was very kind to us amateurs who were hacking the poor fish to death, you know. He says, no, you've got to do it so you get the best value for it, you know, and get everything off, do it properly. And he was a very good instructor. But what he has done since then is he's brought out a very good website, and it's focusing on Australian fish. You go to YouTube, you can have a look at all sorts of people with their techniques. Often it's overseas varieties, and whereas Conway and Rick, they have specialised in Australian fish. So if you need to go and top up, how would you fill a leather jacket, for example, they're an unusual fish, he'll show you how to do that. And any other type of fish. I had to fill a shark the other day, and I had no idea. But I went on his website, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. So there we are. We've got to the end of this short presentation, and there's pictures of Tanya doing a really good job. I like that flaggy on the end. That's quite nice. I'm trying to see who's got the biggest smile in the middle there. Is it that fish or is it Tanya? Oh, one thing I forgot about was safety. See what Tanya's wearing? She's got a life jacket on. She's also got a harness and a personal locator beacon on there. So when we go off the back of the boat to pull things in, we always harness up and clip on, because on a catamaran it steps down very close to the water, and one slip or mistake and then the skipper's got to do a man overboard. Which reminds me, that should be going soon. And is it due? Does anyone remember?
Not scheduled yet.
Not scheduled yet, okay.
Waiting for
But
a nice weekend.
nice weekend.
Good.
Great. Well, that's good. Fantastic. Is there any questions, folks?
Ian, when you catch a big fish, what's the sequence? What do you do?
Catch it.
You said you woke up. I mean, Tanya woke up. You know, when trying to wind in, woke up the guys. But once you land the fish on the boat, what do you do?
We kill the fish. You try and use the Japanese method, where you spike it, and that seems to be the most effective.
How's that?
That's the one. Yeah, that's why I didn't say it, because I don't know how to say it.
Where in the fish do you...
Well, that's the skill. Usually, it's in the brain, obviously. You've got to work out where. And I've found if you don't know, usually around the eye, so around the eye area, into the brain, and usually not too far from there. If it doesn't work the first time, the second or third time, we'll knock it out. Also, we'll have an expert here, of course. Tell us.
It's called Icky Jimmy, and
That's it, thank you.
fish obviously move around a bit, so we do recommend that you hit them with a blunt object to stun them a bit, and then yes, bite through the brain. And it can be different fish, obviously, it can be tricky to find, but if you Google it, there are websites that show you on certain species where to do it. With tuna, you can also go in through one of their nerves as well. So, yeah, and crabs and things, obviously, it's a bit different. So, yeah, it's some of that's in the catch K guide, so take one anyway.
Oh, fantastic. Well, thanks very much for that, Josephine.
Putting gin in the gills, is that a myth? We didn't have any gin on board.
Well, we could spare gin to give to
In my gills or the fish's gills? I wouldn't be wasting gin on fish.
No, it didn't. Well, we tried vodka, but it didn't work.
No, we didn't like vodka, so we tried vodka in a spray bottle, and I think the thing's enjoying it, you know, it's just it's misery. But, yeah, so...
That's some fun.
So in carrying on with your question, Gordon, so we do that first, and then normally we'd eat it, so we'd fillet the fish and store it and eat fresh what we could, and then we wouldn't catch any more fish until we finished the fish that we caught.
So where do you gut the fish or scale it? Where do you do the work?
Yeah, we do the work on the after deck, so it's easy to clean. Fortunately, we have an external shower on a long handle. And what we would do then is after you'd kill the fish and bleed it into a big like bath bucket type setup. And I know Robin's going to talk a bit about that. And that's good, so it keeps the mess away. And then after that, you just give it a good hose down on the back of the boat and try and keep the mess to a minimum. But don't let it dry. It's very hard to remove that. Big table was what we used to actually place the fish on, that we could then fillet it and then make it into dinner-sized pieces. You got a question? Young fella in the middle there, what's your name? Well, there could be a number of reasons. It's possible that you weren't in the place where the big fish were at the time. So a lot of these big fish can be quite a distance offshore. So if you're not in their playground, you can't play with them. I think that's often the case, but you never know. One day you might be able to get out there and get a big one. But I wouldn't be too concerned about big fish. One of my favourite fish are whiting. And you don't need to catch big fish to enjoy fish.
I can get out there, I look on foot.
Oh, that's marvellous. Any more questions? No? Okay, well, we'll call that a halt.
On behalf of the Cruising Committee, I'd like you to accept this small token of our appreciation.
Thank you for your small token.
Draw a raffle for the shark.
Right, let's draw.
Don't clean this one.
Right.
Okay. Ooh, drum roll.
A38, right?
8:30.
Red, A38.
8:30. No, it's
Oh,
30.
there you go, show them my glasses.
8:30.
So our last but not least speaker is Robin Mustaka. Robin is co-owner of Bandegi, a 10-metre Randall motor sailor shared with her hubby Ian. Robin was raised powerboating and on fishing adventures from North America. She now mostly sails and fishes in Western Australia. Robin has been instrumental in putting this topic line together. She arranged to have the delicious Colombian smoked salmon shipped all the way from America for us to enjoy. Please join me in welcoming Rob.
Thanks, Ian, that was really good. I can't wait till you invite me to go fishing on your boat, because you catch big fish. Really look forward to that. Okay, where am I here?
He's not bad.
All right. So that is my brother. And he's single. And he may have caught the fish that you just ate. So thank you. That was really good, learning all sorts of things. So I grew up doing that sort of fishing, except for the electric part, in San Francisco Bay areas, primarily where I grew up, in Seattle, but I've fished everywhere. And back in the day, this is how long I've been fishing. When I'd go out with my dad's mates, and we'd have those those big things of coffee, and I'd have to pee in those cans. Right? When you're young and you're young girl at 13, I have to pee in those coffee cans. I don't know why I never thought about putting the towel on the bottom of it, but anyway, I grew up fishing. Now I married a sailor, and now it's bloody hard to fish on the back of a sailboat. So it's taken me a while to get to learn how to do it, and I have found my mojo, and it's through trolling with hand lines. And it's amazing, and my dad, my dad laughs at me because I use hand lines and thinks it's a joke. So what's with this Columbia River salmon? So Columbia River is a river in the Pacific coast of the US below, it goes Alaska, Canada, Washington. The Columbia River goes in between Washington and Oregon. It's cold water, it's a beautiful river. My parents live, it could be their house like right behind those trees, and my dad is just like that kid. Can we go fishing today? Are we fishing? And so when we were talking about doing this, I said, oh, wanted to provide some fish, what could we do? And no one was going fishing, the weather's not great. I said, well, Scotty's coming back from the US, maybe my dad has some fish he could send. So Scotty just got back yesterday, so that fish was just caught. That is your fish that you just ate tonight. And yeah, so anyway, so he brought it, and there we go. But I didn't think they were going to put it on the poster. I thought we were just going to, like, in case that was going to be a surprise. Well, then it came out on the poster, and I'm like, oh, Dad, do you have any fish? He goes, you're not going to believe it. For the first time in my whole life, I don't have any smoked fish. Everyone's blah, blah, blah. Anyway, he stayed home from fishing, and it's a very laborious thing to make this fish. You brine it for 20 hours, and then you let it sit, and then you smoke it for 18 hours, and then you blah, blah, blah. Anyway, it got here from Seattle yesterday. So that's the story about, and it's best shared with company, so I don't have any more. Yeah. And so why hand lines? I sort of started because it's easy, it's really nice to do on the back of the boat, and you can catch big fish. And it's so simple. What's also didn't come up today that I've really noticed is when you're on a boat and you're fishing with a rod, your rod's up here and the line goes down, you have to let out more line for the lure to work properly. And I'm sorry if anyone's really technical, I don't know why that is, but you gotta put a lot of line out for it to play right in the water. And when you're on a hand line down here off the transom, it floats out nicer. And so you don't need as much line to go out for the lure to work. So unlike what my dad would say, oh, you gotta have it way out there, when you're on a hand line, I've found that you can catch a lot of fish. You don't have to be out quite as far. It's pretty easier. So once I learned how to do it, this really nice Caribbean guy in the Grenadines showed me how to use a hand line, and I borrowed his kit for the bareboat charter, and I just never looked back. So I travel all over the world, wherever we go. my poor husband, I have to check the bag because it's got hooks, and I take it. Anyway, and I catch it. And I can do it on my own, and there's nothing smelly. There's no smelly bait. It's just so cool. There's just your little lure, and if you don't catch anything, your hands are still clean, and if you catch it and your hands are smelly, you're still excited that you got a fish. So the gear is really easy. It's 9 things, and I think that includes the ice and the towel. So this is my little box. This is not what I travel with on the airplane. This is what I keep on the boat. So this box is what keeps our fins and snorkels. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. I am quiet and demure, as you know, but I'm glad you can hear me. But so this is typically holds not Robin's clothes, but our fins and snorkels in our boat. So when it's fishing time, they go out, and I use this. Actually, this is my Dexter. This is where I put my fish when I get them on, because they secure the fish, and I don't get blood and guts everywhere. So I just keep that. And these are my 9 things that I use, and that's it. And so basically, you have a hand line. I use a 150-pound test line. Everybody laughs at me. Ian would probably say, "Oh my God, that's so overpowered." But I've never lost a fish. And you just reel it in, and it's just super easy. And you have gloves. And every time I go to my parents, I come home. These are from my dad. He puts all swivels and stickers and things. I come home with these. So gloves, one of these, a swivel on the end, just like Ian talked about. And you choose one of those lures that Ian talked about, of which my dad also always buys me for Valentine's Day. All kinds of lures. And my favorite, everybody's so funny. I would love. Does everybody have a favorite? Like these men, just so good. And I did talk to a guy one time. Has anyone caught a fish on a spoon? So he said if he had one lure, this was a guy at Anglers, it wasn't Mario, I think it was Mario, it wasn't the owner, but he said if he had one lure and he was sailing around the world, he would take a spoon. Anyway, I've never caught a fish on it, but there you go. So you take one of these. This little Helco number that I also got next door, they're not in business anymore, sadly, but this fish has caught on this little hand line, 15 meters out, it has a good sound, and it's weighted, it's heavy. And this has caught fish everywhere. Here, Quindalup, the Whitsundays, the Grenadines, all up and down, the Caribbean, Europe, you name it. And if I lose this, I don't know what I'm going to do, because he's all eaten up, but he's great. So that's it. Now, I have a couple of things. I, too, carry a gaff in my suitcase. Here it is. And it's great, and everyone laughs at me. My dad's like, "You're kidding me," but it's super good. And when you're just trying to just get that off the transom, because you're on a sailboat and you're underway, it's not like you're fishing. So it works great. So I take that, and I hate those lip things. So I have this, and that gets my lip thing. But that's what you can ask for Valentine's Day.
What
you
is
don't
that?
need that. It's just it holds the lip of the fish. Just pull it. Yes.
Just always make sure you put the thing around your wrist.
Yes.
Because I have accidentally released a fish with the lip thing still.
That's what happens is you get it like this, and you do it, and then it flips, and this flies, and it's gonzo. So that's that. Always have a knife, but you have one. I don't know about you guys, but you're sailors. We have one with the winch handle anyway, so we have that. I freeze these little bottles, so these are my ice. I have that, and my gloves, and that's it. And then again, once I get the fish on board, which we'll talk about next, they just go in this little box, so all the guts and everything stay right here, so I don't have stuff everywhere, because I don't catch big. We haven't yet caught that big. I mean, I catch big fish, but not that big. And that's it. So far, Ian's pretty patient with me. When I have all this going, man, you can do it with your sails up. And And the best thing is they love 6 to 8 knots. So there we go, setting up the line. I've already talked about that. I can't say enough, just go with a 150-pound test line. Everybody, all the old guys are going to say, oh, that's crazy, just do it. We lost 3 tuna on a power boat off of the West End 3 weeks ago on that one nice day we had, and every single one we lost at the boat and broke off with bread. It was ridiculous. Anyway, and I'm like, mate, it's testosterone. There is a little bit of technique. It's not just putting it out. The technique is, speed does matter, because 6 to 8 knots is the sweet spot. These fish are going 40 plus miles an hour under there, and they go fast, and they like to catch fast fish, fast bait, and so you want to be going fast. So 6 to 8 knots seems to be the sweet spot. And if you go too fast, they would probably catch it, but the lure doesn't play right. They're made to go at that speed, and you'll notice it. If you go too fast, it's flopping around down there. It just doesn't look like it's doing the right thing. Keep your line taut. Oh, occasionally check for a weed. I've lost more fish and not caught fish by being lackadaisical and sitting with a glass of wine and not checking it, and you pull your lines in and you've got weed. It's just the worst. It's just an awful feeling. Yeah, the last one is bring your lines in before, when you're like motor sailing, before your husband asks for you to get the boat hooked for the mooring ball, and you've got 2 lines out, 45, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not like, you gotta bring these hand lines in, it takes a while, and then occasionally when you do that, and you have a fish on. That's also awkward coming in, which that time, this was great. That time we had full sails up. He's like, oh, it's time, we've waited too long. And I start pulling it in, and I had to tune it, and I'm like, honey, I'm so sorry, could you please turn into the wind, because I have a fish on. It's like, it's getting dark. Yeah, so remember to so now that you know how to do it, right, it's pretty easy, 9 things you've got, that includes the ice and the bucket. What are you going to catch? So really 3 things in these waters you'll be going for. One is a bonito and skipjack. I think that these are really plentiful, and they're the overachievers for us trollers, because there's a lot of them out there and we catch them. And they're also really underappreciated. I think people don't realize if they're treated properly, and I'll talk to you about that, they are really good. And really good bonito, a small one, I would love to go toe-to-toe and have some sashimi next to a bluefin, and you didn't look at the color, let's see if you can taste the difference. If you do it right, and we'll talk about that. They're good from sashimi, fish tacos, soup, whatever. Really, really good. They love warm water, so often when the water's warm, you'll see more bonito. And they love fast-moving lures and a lot of action. And I think the most we caught was 7 coming up, not 8. Oh, to Jessica, she said, not 8, but 7 coming from Gracetown to Quindla. And it was a terrible day, and I think there's a photo of his wife, Al's wife, helping us out catch fish, because there was just all kinds of stuff in the back of the water. We're pulling, and it's rough. But I think those bonitos just love the flashing water and the wake, and which is perfect for sailboats, because you'd never be out there in a powerboat. You wouldn't have even fished that day, which is another reason why hand lines are really good. Another one you might catch is a Spanish mackerel. They're good in the summer, and they love the currents. And I didn't know that, but now when I look back on the mackerel we've caught, it's always in a current. This is actually a spotted mackerel for those, but if you squint, it's a Spanish mackerel. And this is in the morning. This is like by nighty, and it's between Hayman Island and Butterfly Bay there. And if you think about that water that comes through that narrow area, and we caught that right after we caught the towelfish. That was good. My girlfriend, my friend was convinced this was just going to be the biggest fish. Well, it was a beach towel. And the third one that often catch, which are really beautiful, are bluefin and yellowtail. And correct me if I'm wrong, are they endangered, or what's up with them? Why they're not as plentiful? Destiny, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about the stocks in WA specifically, but I know around the world they are quite vulnerable. Yeah, from overfishing.
Yeah, and which is why I never mind a bonito, and we do beautiful things with them. And that's the one where I try to convince him, please, honey, there's some birds over there. Can we just troll by them? And he's like, no, we have to be, where we're going. And I'm like, honey, just over there, because what he knows is if we get over there, I don't want to just do run. I want to do a lot of runs. And then if I catch a fish, then there's that whole thing. And again, the trick to these guys are sticking to 6 to 8 knots. They really like it, and keep your lure dancing. They too are really good. So now you've got the fish in, and it's in the box, and your husband's really happy because there's not blood everywhere. And here's another thing I found out why you should keep your fiberglass good on your boat. Because if your fiberglass isn't good on your boat and it's chalky, the blood soaks in. That's the reason to polish your boat. And ours is chalky. So I've got to keep the fish in here. Yeah. Anyway, and the way to do it properly is, wear gloves when you be tied on. Note to selfie, and we need to tie on more. Maybe you want to lose me. I'm always the one. So, gaff it, bleed it immediately, and you cut and spike behind the gills. And there's lots of YouTube videos to watch how to do that. And I think we talked about it. And then rinse it quickly, which we've talked about as well. I think back to here, this is the time that you're really grateful for the 150-pound test line, because you won't believe, if you've ever rod fished on anything other than those electric ones, and you're reeling in, even those fish, it's tiring. And with this, even that big, this handle is pretty big, it's not that hard. With a glove on, you get a good rhythm going, and you do it, and then if you're really hasty, you can pull it in and it'll all wad up. You got all day, you got fish, you get it right. And you can just pull it in, and it's really, and the other thing is, it's probably been dragging out there for half an hour, so it's super tired. Because they're big hooks, and once they're hooked, they're not going to go, so they're scaled by the time you get on the boat. There you go. So bring it in. I bleed it in a bucket, upside down, salt water. It's kind of like, you have a baby. What does the husband do? I'll boil the water. What does the husband do? Get a bucket of water to bleed the fish. We bleed, I whack it with usually a winch handle. This is low budget. This is low tech, right? Ian's probably got an electric thing. And then got it and put it immediately on fish. Dry it, put a bag around it, and then put it on the ice. The best way to eat tuna and bonito for me, is to keep it dry and don't put it in a plastic. So put it in a Tupperware, like not covered, so that it gets air dried. Think boat shed with all that beautiful fish air drying, and eat it the next day. And then it firms up. That mushy fish tastes horrible today. It's beautiful, firm, and lovely tomorrow. So that's really it. The last one, it's normal stuff. Reef edges, watching for current lines, where the tide line goes and where current goes between two areas. It is narrow areas, morning, late. I'm finding that there is a correlation, I'd be interested, between brightly colored lures in bright days and dark lures on dark days, which is a little bit counterintuitive. And troll 2 lines if you can, maybe one at 15 meters, one at 20 or 30, one that goes down like that Halco, and then one that's up here, and then the fish see that and come and get it. And yeah, bring your bestie. This is my best friend in Sacramento, catching her first little tuna and on my favorite lure. Any questions? And if anyone wants to do it, I've already got a couple of people set up with it. I think it's worked for Sandy and Chris. If you want to know, I've got gear. I'm happy to give it to you to loan it while we're away. Yeah, and it's really easy. I really would love to see the wives, women do it, because it's not hard. You can do this.
You set up some type of rubber band or something for when you film?
Yes, good question. I haven't yet done it, but I haven't yet done a bungee cord. So the idea is if you have some sort of a rubber band or something and it breaks, and then you know that there's a fish on, hence the, you know, when I see them dragging back there for a half an hour and they come in really tired. Or even something like this with a bell on it, that's what real fishermen do. I get enough fish, and so I haven't had the need, but I'm going to start doing it, to do it regularly, to put either a bell here, so that when it pulls, which is why I bought this, because I wanted it little, because it's got to fit in my little kit, and I've got to put it on the airplane, or rubber, you could just do a rubber band. They have these thick rubber bands and they break. Anyway, that's it. Anything else?
Do you
Yes.
leave the fish in the bucket, or do you trawl it behind the boat in the water?
No, because if I want to fish again, that blood is just going to bring everybody. So I don't. I bleed it bleed it upside down in the bucket. I've never had a problem. They really bleed in there well. Yeah. Anything else? I'm sorry, longer than I thought.
So how many times out of, say, 10 that you go fishing would you come home empty-handed?
Yeah. Ian, do you want to? I always say,
Depends where you are.
He tells me, I can't measure mine because how big was your fish, Robin? It's this big. He's like, this big.
That's just between the eyes, right?
Yes, that's right. If it depends on where. If you ask me where we fish, I say we fish out there. But on the backside of Rottnest or Garden Island or down in Quindalup, going down to Quindalup or around to Gracetime, 100%. More than we have to stop. Finally, we had 7 in the boat that day, and it's like enough. I mean, and I was like seasick cleaning them all. So we do get a lot. Between here and Rottnest, has anyone ever caught one of these fish between here and Rottnest? Oh, good. I've been.
Not for a few years. That's a lot of seaweed.
I know. I get seaweed a lot too. I'm really, really fortunate. When I put my mind to it, we generally get fish. The Mediterranean is the only place that I didn't catch fish.
There's no fish.
I mean, we troll for bloody hours and hours and hours. Even, the guys, on the flota, they're telling you, oh yeah, you'll catch them here, here, and here. Yeah.
We spent thousands
Yeah.
on
Us too.
reefs and,
Yeah.
and medicine. Nothing.
We're right there with you. Yeah, it's here. Other questions?
Where you tie the hand reel
It's
off?
a really good question. I looked at my notes and I didn't mention it. It's tricky. If anyone has it, it's not tricky. So our head sew comes to a cleat off the back toward the transom. Watched it, Ian Chagrin. I tie it off to the because it's cleated, and then I take the end of that line. I turn this around a couple of times so it doesn't continue to go out. Sometimes it does. That's why there's a bowline tied at the end. When you buy these things, sometimes they're not tied on, they just put it on. So take the time and run it out and put it back. And so I turn it around a couple of times, put the head sole through it, and I secure it there. The other way that I do it is I take this line, I cleat it off OXO, and then I put this in the sail bag. We're really lucky on our boat. We have 2, not sail bag. Yeah, they're like rope bags, gear lines that we don't use. So it sits in there, and that's perfect. And in there, in those little bags, that's where I keep my gaff, my knife, all my little hoo-ha. And the time to catch fish is when you don't have all of that ready, because this box sits down and stored, and I will always catch fish when I forget to pull it out. And then not only am I got a fish on, I've got to get Ian to go down and get all of this stuff. Anything else? Yeah, so do it, and let me know if you, I'm excited to get other people hand-line fishing.
Oh, you gotta go.
You've got to get your token.
Thank you.
We'd like you to accept this token of our appreciation.
Well, thank you.
I appreciate it.
Can you draw it in the Oh, this is for the survival pack of tuna, canned tuna. It hasn't paid attention tonight. Tuna, really good bait in a crab pot. Oh, do you want to read it? It is A09. Somebody that was fairly early. 9. Rob?
I just heard there was a bad fight down in the galley last Friday. A fish got battered. Ian,
Yes, Sammy.
I think you've got my shirt on.
No, I don't think it's quite yellow on it, unless you've got
Oh,
any
right,
extra.
sorry. Would you like to tell us about the angling section?
Yes, I've got a different hat on. Oh, I've got a different shirt on. So, yes, Danny's asked me to just briefly talk about the angling section, seeing as it's fairly on topic. I did have a very short presentation of 2 slides, which is here. How many angling members do we have here? 1, 2, the shirts are a bit of a giveaway, aren't they? 1, 2, 3. Yes, there's 3 of us there, so I'll talk just a little bit about it, where you can actually learn a bit of stuff about fishing and take part with like-minded people who are keen to fish. That is well maintained. Yay, so we'll go on to the next slide. Angling section. Okay, the aims, I've written it down here so I don't get it wrong. I'm going to get the aims correct. So the aims of the Fremantle Sailing Club's angling section is to promote the sport of fishing in a competitive environment whilst practicing conservation by monitoring and preserving fish stocks. So it's done very sustainably. How do we do it? Well, we have a monthly competition with prizes. And the old style of fishing was how many fish did you catch? Well, we don't do that. When we have our competitions, it's the number of species that you catch would make you win the competition. So the person that has the largest range of species, all within bag limits of course, would be the person that would win that competition. And then you do that over the season, and at the end of the season, the person who has won most competitions is the season's winner. We also do, for interest's sake, because some people seem to be much better than others for some reason. And sometimes you go, oh God, I've got no chance against that bloke or that woman, it's so good. And we have a fish of the month. And so we select a fish that we're allowed to catch, and we make that the fish of the month. And the person that has the largest specimen of that fish is the winner for fish of the month. So it just makes it a little bit more interesting. And then we note that for the end of the year, and the person that's caught the biggest one is the winner of that fish trophy for the year. So there's a few things that they do. But also, there's a number of us that don't have a fishing boat that we could go fishing in. However, we're very fortunate at the club here that we have access to Success. And as I put up there, they provide two fishing events per month, one on a Wednesday and one on a Sunday. And if you're a member of the section, you're able to come out on board the boat and catch fish. So how do you do that? Well, you go along to the meeting, you have that on the second Wednesday of each month at 7:30, and you can nominate to go for a fish on success. We have a limit of 14 people, that includes a skipper and a deckhand. So basically it's 2 skippers in case one gets unwell, you still got another skipper to get you home, and 12 crew. So if you want to try your hand at fishing from a boat and you don't have access to a boat, Success is a very good, we're very fortunate at the club to have that, to allow us to go fishing. That's a good way to go off and get your deep water fishing. Usually you start at 7 in the morning, you're back by 2, and it's weather dependent, of course. If there's swells more than 2 metres or the seas are greater, winds are greater than 15 knots, then you're getting closer to maybe cancelling it. So it's just something you have to bear in mind, that the weather is the guide there for us. And that's it. Any questions?
Yeah. Does everyone know the name of the boat is Success? So it sits right out here, looks like a crane boat. And it was years before I realized you could go out for free, be members of the club.
It's fantastic.
On that boat, it's the best thing. You just bring your own gear.
And a charter would cost hundreds, and
Yeah.
the club pay for it and
Yeah.
offer it to us. And
As
yeah,
members,
it's just
yeah.
wonderful. We've had great times. And then plus you can go out even in we go out in our catamaran, which isn't fast at all, and into the competitions. And sometimes we get lucky, sometimes not. Yeah, but it's great. So everybody, now you've all got the tools, and hopefully you'll join it.
Sandy has a question.
If you don't have gear, can you go, or you need to have your own gear?
Yes, you're expected to bring your own gear, but if you speak to the coordinator, as Martin is his name, the club does have some gear, so he might be able to organise that for you if you phone him ahead of time. But usually they've got people like Tanya and myself who've got some spare gear and can help you. Yes.
How heavily subscribed is the outings? Are they pretty full, or?
Well, surprisingly enough, they're not. It does surprise me that they've had a couple of no-goes because they could only get 6 people. That's the skipper, the co-skipper, and then 4 people. It's not enough, you need 8. So that's a couple of times this year that's happened. The rest of the time, when the boat's unable to go out, it's been because of the weather. There are a couple of issues here with not enough people. So one Wednesday a month and one Sunday a month. So they try and get the midweek people and also the people that are available at weekends. So come along, have a look. It's free to attend, and I think you might have a cheese and biscuits and a glass of beer or wine afterwards. So if we can't appeal to your sense of fishing, we might appeal to your tummies. Come along and join
One
us.
thing, we're very short. Ian's skipper, and we've only got one other skipper, so we need 2 skippers. So if anybody is at all interested, ladies, gentlemen, in learning how to skipper the boat, the club will train you and certify that you're capable of doing so. And yeah, it's there, and then your section, you just have to say it's on behalf of your section.
As long as you've got a recreational skipper's ticket, first of all, you need to have it.
So
It's really undersubscribed. It's like Benito's, man. It's a good
Yeah, it's best kept secret, really. Here we are, we run almost a charter operation twice a month, and we can't fill the boat up. So, yeah, come along. Thank you.
So I just want to bring to your attention a couple of things. So we've talked about fishing. The next event that's coming up is the Ladies Only Fishing Day. We were hoping to have it this Monday, the 25th, but the weather isn't looking good, so we'll postpone it to Monday, the 1st of September. We've got 6 spots left, so if you're a lady, if you're a member, and if you've enjoyed tonight and you want to go fishing, please send me an email. I forgot my cards, but come speak to me afterwards if you want my email address. Or Sirena, catsailing@gmail.com. That's quite an easy one. What else? We've got the jam sale on Sunday the 15th of September. The next topic night is going to be Thursday the 18th of September. Who made up that? Boots sale is on Sunday the 28th of September, so look forward to seeing everyone there. And very importantly, the season opening is on Saturday the 4th of October. And oh yes, Michael wanted me to pass on that starting on October the 5th, every Sunday there's going to be an Aussie roast barbecue with live music.
Nice.
Thank you very much for coming to this topic night. I hope you enjoyed yourself as much as I did, and see you next month. Thank you.
Did you think it was what's it called? It's already in French. No, Harry.